Facts show you what is simple and true. Try laying out a bird's eye view. Not what he told you, just what you see. What do you know that's not your dad's mythology?
That is from the Broadway musical Fun Home, the story of a dysfunctional family struggling, among other things, with issues of sexual orientation. Fun Home won Best Musical at last year's Tony Awards, and The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime won Best Play. But the two shows share another distinction. The books from which they were adapted were two of the most challenged last year. That is, they were on an annual list compiled by librarians of the most complained about books, ones the public would like to see banned from library shelves. They say it is a yearly snapshot of issues that concern Americans the most. This year, there were specific categories. From her home office in Manhattan, Susan Cookland has written about 30 books for children and young adults. An image from her most recent book, Beyond Magenta, hangs proudly on her wall. Christina is one of 6 kids that Cookland interviewed for the book as they transitioned from one gender to another. What was the immediate response once it was published and it was out there?
Oh, well, that was really interesting because it was so positive, much more than I thought it would be.
So you didn't even get individual notes from parents or from community members criticizing the book?
No.
Nothing?
None.
It wasn't until Cookland saw her name on a Google alert that she knew her book was among the top 10 most challenged in the nation. What do you think it is that people are afraid of, that they wouldn't want their kids exposed to, that maybe your book touches upon?
This is dangerous knowledge. I mean, it's scary to people because they don't understand it. Once you get to understand it, it's no longer frightening. But there's that period before it happens where there's so much pushback and so much fear. And I think that that's what happened with my book.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but then the majority of books on the banned list were about LGBT issues.
That's right, 4 out of the 10.
Librarian James LaRue helped compile the list. In addition to the 4 books about lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender issues, there are 2 books about Islam, 2 about mental disability, the Bible, which he says has appeared many times before, and 50 Shades of Grey. It was initially self-published erotica, but went on to sell 125 million copies. It was later adapted into a movie.
It's just beyond this door.
What is?
My playroom.
What is the broad theme amongst the books that you have people saying these shouldn't be in libraries?
It's the outsider. You know, it's whatever part of our society that mainstream America still feels some discomfort with.
Are you at the place where you can predict what people will be afraid of and which books might end up on that list?
We certainly are close observers of our culture. And it's clear that if you look back over the past year or so we've had a surge of religious liberty bills. May transgendered people use a restroom? Or an attempt to say, adopt the Bible as the state book of Tennessee. And so often actions like this, when any one group steps forward and says, it needs to be like this, well, then there's a pushback. LaRue says most books stay on the list for about 5 years and then become mainstream. The best example, Harry Potter. The concern was that this is a glorification of witchcraft and Satanism. But it was just this terrible fear that someone would be exposed to a non-Christian worldview and then be somehow seduced and corrupted by it. What do you think can be learned just from this list?
I think what we're learning is the country is more frightened than we thought it was. We're afraid of going forward. Life is changing. Science is making changes. Politics are changing. Everything's changing. And we can either choose to grow as human beings or stay the same.
Cookland said when she wrote her book, there was nothing like it on the market. Now LGBT books are a booming genre that may soon need a separate section in every library. What do you think is going to happen to your book sales?
I haven't really thought about it so much.
Because they told us when they get on the banned books, sales often increase.
I know, and people are all saying to me, congratulations, and meanwhile I feel like I've been slapped in the face, so it's really quite odd to...
Like you should be proud of making this list.
Right.
It's such an interesting topic, and we did ask, is there a specific state or region that complains the most? The answer is it varies every year.
Yeah.
And more often than not, it is a parent saying, I don't want my child exposed to that literature.
Reading this book. Fascinating that Harry Potter was even on it.